Thank you so much for taking the time to meet with me. First of all, could you please tell me your full name and the position or positions you occupy currently?
My full name is James McCawley. I'm currently the National Director for Catholic War Veterans and also local commander of Post 1947. And I'm also the Veterans Rep for the Catholic War Veterans. And we're sort of in charge of this clinic, the new Northwest Clinic. My wife and I share that responsibility. We have 80 people that we have to schedule each week for this clinic to work there.
Tell me a little bit about where you were born and raised and your family of origin, please.
Okay. I was born in Phoenix City, Alabama. The reason being my father was in the military, and at that time he was stationed at Fort Benning, Georgia, which is right across the river. We traveled most of my life. I lived in Japan, throughout the United States, from California to the Eastern Seaboard. Germany, I graduated out of high school in Germany, and I joined the Army myself at that time in Germany. And then I made a career out of the Army. However, after my second tour in Vietnam, I got sick. We didn't know then what it was, but I was medically discharged after 18 years.
Were you exposed to Agent Orange or something like that?
Yes, I was. I was exposed to Agent Orange on both tours. I had two tours, one in 1965, the second one in 1970-71. And that's when I became ill after that second tour. Since then, I have developed cancer, which is related to the prostate cancer. I also have diabetes 2, and I have ischemic heart disease, which have all been related to Agent Orange.
Including the diabetes?
Including the diabetes.
I didn't realize it increased the likelihood of that.
Oh yes. The ones that brought it to our attention was the Australian Army. 75% of their troops that served in the Mekong Delta came down with diabetes 2.
Oh my.
And they're the ones that alerted the American government, and then they did a survey, and there's more of us that were in Vietnam with it than the normal population. So.
Were you raised in any particular religion?
I was raised in Catholic religion. I went through parochial schools up into high school, and then I went to public school after that. After graduating and joining the military, I took courses through the University of Maryland and the University of El Paso, Texas, but I never finished my degree. But
what was your course of study at that time?
At that time it was psychology.
Do you have any siblings?
Yes, I do. I have 2 brothers and 2 sisters.
And what are they doing now?
One of them is deceased. The one that's next to me, he was murdered in 1984 in Texas. He got shot. My oldest brother works here in Las Vegas, our youngest brother. He works here in Las Vegas for a gate company, security gates. I have 2 sisters here in San Francisco, California, and one works in government and the other one works in private industry.
Great. And tell us about your children.
I have 4 children, 2 boys and 2 girls. The oldest one is supervisor for security at a local casino. The youngest one is a carpenter. The daughters both work for the state of Nevada.
What did you do to get the Bronze Star Medal?
I was in the Phoenix Advisory Program. I was an advisor in the Phoenix program, and I led Vietnamese forces on several operations, and that's how I received the Bronze Medal.
And you have 3 oak leaf clusters for your Army Commendation Medal.
Right.
What did you do to earn those?
Okay, first one they put it on my award as acting sergeant major at the Intel School at Fort Huachuca, Arizona, and that was my first award. And then the others were in Germany. I ran a field office all by myself. It was supposed to be a 5-man office, and I ran it entirely by myself. We were so short of counterintelligence personnel. And then the last one was in Fort Bliss, Texas. That was another field office, and it was supposed to be a 12-man office, and I ran it totally by myself.
Wow.
Until I was medically retired out of service.
How many years in service did you have at that time?
18 years, 2 months, and 10 days. Not that I was counting.
And how did you meet Colleen?
I met her when I came back from France. I was assigned to a little army depot in Granite City, Illinois, and her next door neighbor hooked us up on a blind date. And we went, that first date, I'll never forget it, because I called her on the telephone and everything, and she says, be sure and wear your Class A uniform. We're going to an outside concert at the local park. So I come dressed in my Class A, spit shine polish, and she came out in cutoffs and a sweatshirt. It just totally blew my mind. But that's where we met, and from there, 4 months later, we got married.
And what's the secret? You've been married a long time. What's the secret to staying married so long, hopefully successfully?
It's very successful. Number one, we work as partners. We share everything. I gave up going out with the boys, and she gave up going out with the girls. We concentrated on raising our family, and after the kids grew up, then we had the grandchildren that followed, and we believe in a real tight family, and that's brought us even closer together. It seems like the longer we've been together, the more in love we get. That might sound corny to a lot of people nowadays, but that's the way it is.
Please tell us what makes you give so much time, money, and energy to the Knights of Columbus.
I don't do too much with the Knights.
You're a fourth
degree. It's not only the Knights of Columbus, but I do a lot with veterans groups in particular.
Knights of Columbus, when I looked it up online, I didn't see that it talked a lot about veterans.
No.
Is there a close association?
The fourth degree is called the patriotic degree, and they are the ones that would work with veterans. So when I attained that position, then I was more inclined to work with veterans. Up until there, we work with mentally challenged people, and a lot within the church itself.
What do you do in the church?
We support the pastor, we help raise money. Right now I'm in a parish called St. Anthony of Padua. We do not have our church built yet, so we help with fundraisers for the church building, holding bake sales, just anything possible to raise money. Flea market, we'll hold flea market once a year and take the proceeds from that to help pay for that.
Where do you meet now since you don't have a building?
We meet, they're renting a storefront off of Rancho Lane, and we meet there Tuesday nights, first Tuesday night of the month.
I was reading the letter that you sent me about yourself, and you have so many different activities in which you're involved.
Right.
It seems largely centered around veterans, memorial, and homelessness. Those seem to be the main topics that you're focused on.
Yes.
I have two questions that are both related to that preamble. One is, please tell us your 2 or 3 most important efforts and a little detail about them. And then the other is, why are those 3 areas so central to what you do?
First off, I work with the homeless, or the ones that are right on the edge of being homeless. And I've concentrated my efforts with a lot of other veteran groups. They elected me as the chair of the Homeless Coalition. And our program is to prevent homelessness. If we can stop them from getting on the street, we've accomplished a great deal more. Because once they get on the street, it is so hard to get them back into society and helping them there. Secondly, I work with a lot of widows, and when the partner dies, everybody's there. When it's 6 months down the road, everybody forgets them. So we've got a program where we try to keep them active in our organization. I make sure that they get to go out to the cemetery. We have a van. We take them out once a month.
That's down in Boulder City?
Boulder City. We drive them out there, and it's their day, I call it. They can take their time, visit their loved one's gravesite, and then afterwards we usually go for lunch at a local hotel. There's a historical hotel in Boulder City, and they really like going there. And I just let them relax and enjoy and interact. Plus we keep them involved with all the other programs with the homeless. They work with us side by side. I've got 80-year-olds that work with us at the racetrack, if you can believe that. And they put in 10, 12-hour day out there and never complain, not one little bit.
What kind of things do they do for you?
They, at the racetrack, they help us with checking tickets when people come up to the VIP suites. In town, they'll help us with poppy drives. They're right out there with veterans trying to sell poppies and make money for our welfare program. Part of that welfare program is we help with food. We have a food bank. We're one of the only veterans groups in town that has one. We help with rent assistance, and we also help with utility assistance.
How does one qualify for those programs? First of all, they need to be a veteran of the United States Armed Forces.
Yes.
Do they need to have been a veteran during an active conflict?
No, they don't.
So they're post-Vietnam era, that would be fine.
Yeah, they can be a veteran in any era, any time frame. In order to get into the system, we have them go through the VA's social worker program, where they will evaluate. They call us and they verify that this is in fact a person that really is in need and not one trying to scam us for money. We set this program out because when we first started, we just went straight to the person, and we were getting ripped off, as the word goes. So in order to stop that, we go through the VA.
And they have to qualify by what standard?
They will verify that if there is a need for the rent assistance, they'll notify it, go to the whoever the rental party is. If it is a utility bill, we'll verify they have to have the bill with them, and we pay it directly to the utility company or the rental agency. No cash to the person. When we first started, we made a big mistake and was giving the money to the people,
and they drank it or gambled it.
Gambled it or what have you. Being the type of city we live in here, that's part of the course. So this has stopped that. Plus, people that aren't trying to improve their lot in life, we're not there to supplement your money so you can go out and gamble your checks away, if it's Social Security, whatever it is. So we try to prevent that. And we have, the way this social worker works, we check with all the agencies in town and we coordinate together. So Nevada,
so they can't be taken from 3 different pots.
Yeah, and that has really, now we know that the people we're helping truly need the help, and they are trying to improve their lot in life. So that's how we try to stop.
Besides the attempt to help prevent them from becoming homeless, would you say there's anything else that stands out as a primary mission of importance?
The other mission is a lot of guys and girls do not realize that they qualify for medical benefits through the VA or even compensation. I have found people that were wounded in combat and received the Purple Heart, and they never once went to the Veterans Administration and applied.
What do you do for the Southern Nevada Veterans Memorial Cemetery besides take widows out there?
Okay, I'm on the Governor's Advisory Committee, and
that's the Governor of the state of Nevada.
Governor of the state of Nevada. I'm on the Advisory Committee, and we sort of oversee the funds and legal ramifications of what can be done on these cemetery grounds, and we sort of guide the cemetery staff out there along those grounds. Like they wanted to move a crematorium out there, and it wasn't feasible, so we showed the cost effectiveness and so forth. And the nearest one's in Henderson, which isn't that far away. So we did that. I work on the volunteer committee also, and what we do there is we help program the Memorial Day ceremony out there. And last year we brought in something like 1,200 people. We had all the congressional representatives from our state were there, and we also helped with the Wreaths Across America event in December. And this is where...
What's that program?
That program started with a newspaper fellow back east. He, as a young boy, was impressed with Arlington Cemetery, and he bought a lot of land, and he started this wreath program. It's Arlington, and it is spread throughout the U.S. And what we do is, for our local, it's $15 a wreath, and our plan is to try to get as many wreaths as possible, and we place them on the grave sites. At the same time, this year it's going to be on the 10th of December, and it'll be 9 o'clock our time, 12 o'clock East Coast time. So we all do it at the same time. Ceremony starts at the same time. And then after the ceremony, and the ceremony is really unique, we get a service member who's on active duty from the different branches of service. We have ROTC cadets from the different branches of service, and we have a veteran who's from each service. And the active duty guy hands the wreath to the veteran, and the veteran hands the wreath to, and then after the ceremony, we go out, and our unit buys extra wreaths for our widows. So we hook them up with a ROTC cadet, and he will take the widow with the wreath to her loved one's gravesite. So it's very moving, and they can take their time. And the wreaths stay out there, you know, for a couple months. They last quite a while. So.
Do they generate funds for the facility as well?
Yes, we do.
I mean, the wreaths.
No, the wreaths make no money for the facility. What they do, for every 3 wreaths we sell, we get an extra one free.
Okay. Why do you like NASCAR so much?
I was a lot in my younger day. I was in the South, and that's where NASCAR was born, on the dirt tracks. And I just got into racing. When I was on active duty and I was stationed in Germany, we formed a race car club, a German-American race car club, and it was similar to the ones back home. And we had a good commander in the area. He gave us the land to build a track, and at that time there was a lot of drug problems within the military, and we got the men involved in building a car for each unit, and we would race on the weekends, and the drug problem went from out of control to total gone away.
So they were just bored?
They were bored out of their minds, so we gave them something to do, and we enjoyed it too. And we do it now to raise funds, and that helps us with our welfare program.
So the welfare program, like the rent and the utilities for nearly homeless veterans?
Yes.
Great. If someone wanted to contribute funds directly to that, how would they go about that?
They can contribute it to Catholic War Veterans, put in a memo for the welfare fund, and that goes into one account that's strictly geared for nothing but that. I'm not allowed to spend any of that money for office supplies or anything of that nature, and they just make it to Catholic War Veterans, and we're at P.O. Box 6, I can't remember a P.O. Box number.
That's okay. You know what? They can contact me and I'll give them your information.
Okay.
Since they're giving the funds to Catholic war veterans, do you care what the religion of the veteran is?
No, we have no.
So if they're Jewish or Muslim or atheist, you'll help them
We
out?
give it to all religious types and all ethnic groups.
Great. What's the most attractive part of Catholicism to you?
The receiving of the body and blood of Christ.
The communion.
The communion.
How often do you do that?
Every week.
Every week.
Once a week. I might add something.
Please.
We're talking about ethnic groups. I work with the Jewish war veterans. We work hand in hand together here. And in fact, on some of the rent assistance, they may be quite large. They would help and we'd split the cost. Or I will do one rent, then they'll do the next one. But we've broken down those barriers of religion. We've broken down the barriers of the disabled American veterans doing this, Vietnam veterans, Jewish war veterans, Catholic. We all work together as one unity. With
VFW?
VFW is included. All veteran organizations in this valley, we work with one common goal, and that's to help our fellow veterans.
Great.
And we do it as one team, a team effort. So,
Great. That's the way it should be.
yeah.
Why do you dedicate so much of your time to veterans, Catholic efforts, and burial efforts? What do you personally get out of it?
I get the satisfaction that I've assisted someone in a dire time of need who otherwise would go by the wayside and not be taken care of. When it comes to burial, this is one of the most crucial times in a lot of people's lives. They're not thinking correctly, they're not doing the right things, and someone needs to be there to help guide them and protect them from vultures who might come in and try to take all the insurance money and what have you. We try to set up a program where the guys keep all important papers in one area. They discuss with their families what they want done when they pass away, and this helps prevent a lot of heartache at the end there. There's enough heartache with the loss of an individual, much less being ripped off or not knowing what to do. You know, so it makes me feel good inside, and I want to have someone there when it's my time to go. It would help my family.
So you're hoping that by your doing it, other veterans will reciprocate and take care of your wife when you pass.
Yes.
In what other ways are you of service to the community?
We've gotten some of the civilian partners in this valley educated into the needs of the homeless, not only the veterans, but other homeless. And like family services from Cambridge Community Service locally, they got on board. They donated the land for us to have a stand down in, and they've been educated by us on what the needs are and how great the need is.
Please tell us about Stand Down.
Yeah, Stand Down is, it came out of the war, when we were in wars, where we would bring the troops back and resupply them, and they get hot meal and a shower and everything before they went back up on the line. So we adapted that as our program for the homeless, where we bring them in and we give them food. We have services there. We have medical, dental, vision, legal. If they have minor offenses, we take care of that. We have people there with housing to try to get them in housing, employment, clothing, you name it, we do it. It's like one day that they can get off the street, get a meal, and get help, and we can get them back in society, and do it with dignity and respect.
And when is the next Stand Down here in Las Vegas?
There's going to be one for the whole community, civilian and veteran, on the 9th of November of this year in Cashmanville.
If someone wanted to offer their services or contribute funds, maybe they're a dentist, maybe they're a doctor, maybe they're an ophthalmologist, or whatever, how would they go about offering themselves?
They should call Greg Abernathy at the Community-Based Outreach Center.
And I have Greg's phone number.
You have Greg's phone number, so. And he would be a point of contact. You could get them online and for volunteering, or if they want to donate items, he would be able to direct them in the right direction.
Great. What was the first service project you ever worked on in your life?
First service project. It was when my children were growing up and they were in the Scouts, and I worked as assistant scoutmaster helping them.
Was there a moment when you knew that service was going to be a major part of your life? Describe that moment for us, what you thought, what you felt.
That happened back in 1995, and I was at the VA clinic, and I noticed volunteers there, and I was unable to work, and I thought, I got to do something. And I went and talked to the volunteer coordinator at that time, and she got me enrolled, and I've never regretted it since then. And it's been one of the most rewarding jobs I've ever had in my life.
Describe how you mean rewarded. What do you think, what do you feel?
For me, it's being able to help that one person that's disabled, help him in a wheelchair or whatever, but to interact with them. A lot of veterans are without families, they have no one there, and to be able to interact and to help them and give them a lending hand. I feel I lost some friends in the war, and to me, this is my way of picking up the torch that they dropped, more or less, and to carry it on. I think that they would do the same thing if they were in my shoes. And I think it's my obligation and my duty to do that, and this is my way of thanking a greater power for allowing me to live as long as I have.
How old are you?
I'm 69 years old.
And
1 month I'll be 70.
happy premature birthday. You work a lot of hours. According to the paper you sent me, in excess of 40 hours each and every week.
Yes.
That's a lot of time to volunteer. You said you're unable to work, but you're doing more than a full-time job without compensation.
No.
Can you square that for us?
Well, part of volunteering is when I'm not able to hold down a full-time job because of the disabilities that I've incurred. Being a volunteer, you do your hours at your speed, and there's no 8 to 5 clock and do the following. I put in a lot of hours every week, and it's in excess of 40. But it's a lot of times it's a sit down, serving coffee, chatting, just talking. A lot of guys, like today, I've had 2 of them that just wanted someone to talk to. So I'm sitting out in the lounge and they come over and they're lonely, they want to talk. I go to the nursing home, same thing there. A lot of those guys and girls up there, their families live far away, they have no visitors, and they want someone to interact with.
What requirements would someone need to have to offer you a few hours a week to do that, one of our viewers?
Well, all they would have to do is to go in and be, you have to be fingerprinted and then get a TB test. And then they'll have an application form that you fill out, and that's all that's required.
They do a background check.
They do a little background check.
To make sure you've not been involved in child or elder abuse.
So that you can come in and that it'll be safe for the veteran. A lot of the veterans are feeble, a lot of them are totally mentally sharp, and they don't want people taking advantage of them. Oh yeah, I had a case I dealt with. It was one of the widows now, but her husband was in the first stages of it, and he was, well, I can do it, I can take it. And one night he got in the car to go up to the local store to get something, and he ended up in Plum. and he called her and he don't know how the hell he got there. But that was the last time he drove the vehicle.
Do you have any spiritual practice that you do, personal spiritual practice, other than your service and communion, that you think is important to you?
I like to take that moment every day, and I call it talking with the Creator, where I go to a quiet place in at my home in my backyard. I have a little fountain, and it's where I go to reflect, and that's where I talk to God in my own way. It's no form of prayer, but my father-in-law taught me that. He would go in the woods on a Sunday. He didn't believe in formal religious, and he always went where the Creator had created, he said. But that's my moment where I thank God for everything He's given me first off, and then I ask for Him to help certain people that I know need help, and that's my time for reflection.
One of our viewers either didn't grow up with a faith-based family, or they had some traumatic experience involved in that, and they've rejected either their own faith or all faith in general.
Right.
And but they hear what you just said, and it seems like an attractive thing to them. Can you give us a suggestion of a beginner, an easy, non-threatening spiritual practice that a beginner could take?
I would think for a beginner, if you could find that time in your day where you could get away from the hustle and bustle of life, the TV, the radio,
The telephone.
going off, and just for 15 minutes, just go and relax and concentrate on the good things for the day. And when you think you've got it bad, just look next door, and it could be worse.
Like the old saying, I used to think it was bad because I had no shoes until I met a man with no feet.
There it is. I've got a neighbor that's dying right now from cancer, and he's in the last stages, and it amazes me how he's taking it, and that he tells me, he says, I just wish God would come and get me. He says, I don't know why he's waiting. But, you know, when I hurt and everything, I think you could be him. So.
Let's take the same question.
Okay.
Only instead of a spiritual practice, let's apply it to service. There's someone out there who's never been of service to anything other than themselves and their own narrow interests.
Right.
But they heard what you said about how it feels to just to sit with and chat with some guy who's feeling lonely or whatever. And they'd like an easy, non-threatening, not difficult way to be of service. Something to get their toes wet. Do you have something you could suggest?
We have several programs. One is at the clinics, we have ambassadors, we call them. And when they come in the clinic, they just ask them what service they're here for, and they can take them to that particular service.
Like the gal who brought me in this room.
Yes, like the gal brought here. Another one is just serving coffee. It's a sit-down job, and they'll come over and you just pour them a cup of coffee, and they take care of it after that. And we have automatic brewing machines, but you interact with people there too, because they'll ask you how the day's going.
And if somebody wanted to give you 1 hour, one time, you'd be glad for that.
Yes, we would. We take any amount of time that you're willing to volunteer, be it 1 hour or 8 hours. That's 1 hour that will help us in the long run.
If you knew that you could not fail in your next effort, what would you attempt?
What would I attempt? I would attempt to be able to enlarge our food program and get a larger building that we could serve more people, and to include a clothing and shoe program in that area.
And to build those to the size that you just had in your mind when you were describing that to me,
Right.
how much money is the primary obstacle? Is that correct?
Money's primary obstacle.
How much money?
Probably to get that going would be in the range of $100,000.
So it's not really that much money.
No, but to us it's a great amount. And to be able to sustain the property after we got it, that's the other.
Would be an additional.
Probably we could keep it within $5,000 to $1,000 a month by conserving electricity and things like that.
Sometime this year or next, humanity is going to pass 7 billion people. We may already have done it.
Right.
It's like right now.
Yeah, we're right there.
No one knows for sure exactly. But let's pretend that all 7 billion of us were watching this video and listening to what you have to say. What would you say to us?
I would say that you need to remember your fellow man and to give him consideration and be willing to give out that helping hand if he should falter. Don't hold grudges with religious or ethnic backgrounds, and to be willing to give your heart to that person. And if everyone in the world would do this, it would be a lovely, lovely place to live.
I agree. If I could give you a superpower, any superpower, one that you've heard of or one that you make up right now, what superpower would you request?
I'd want to have the gift of healing.
Healing. So like lay your hands on it, your cancer would disappear.
Whatever ailment you have, be it physical, mental, or what have you, that I could use that power to heal.
Even if it couldn't apply to you.
Even if it couldn't.
Even if you stayed sick, but you could heal others, that would be.
That would be great in my mind.
What's your favorite movie?
My favorite movie. That's a good question. I think Gone with the Wind.
Gone with the Wind.
With Clark Gable.
That's fine.
Bad times in the Old South.
Yes, they were. Who are your heroes?
If you can believe this, John Wayne was one of them. To me, he was a super guy.
Why?
He was the.
He's not one that people typically name. Most of the people say Gandhi, King, you know.
No, to me, he was the true spirit of the American man, and he, be it the cowboy or whatever part he ever played, but in true life, he was that way too. He was giving and helping, so and I like him.
Is there anyone besides him you'd like to name?
Anyone beside him, it was President John F. Kennedy.
And why?
Because I thought he was a good president, even though he had failings, as all humans do. We fail a lot, but
it wasn't because he was Catholic.
No, it wasn't because he was Catholic. That had nothing to do with it. He, I think when he made the one statement, do not ask what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country. And we could sure use that in this present day and time. It seems like everybody wants a handout, you know, and there's just not enough to go around. But
well, actually, I believe there is enough to go around.
But people.
The problem is there are people taking big hands at the
big
full.
hand, yeah.
Big hands full. You know, when this guy needs an extra $2,000 a month, and this guy's taking an extra 15 mil a month.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean?
I understand totally.
How many people could we take care of with that guy, with that one guy's money?
Yeah, if he didn't take it all. Yeah, I agree. You got a point.
is there anything I've neglected to ask you that you think would support the mission of these videos that you would like to mention right now? Or even just your own editorial?
Yeah. Well, my own thing is, like I said earlier, I felt that I was given a choice of life, not my own choice, but by a greater power, to stay here. And I will never forget, I came home, and when I came home, there was a captain on our team, and they were having his funeral the day I came home. And that's when it hit me that I needed to pay back, or to pick up that torch, as I said earlier, and to carry on and help folks. And that's why I've dedicated my life. You know, as long as I'm able to do it, I will continue to do it. And to me, the rewards are just unbelievable. They're not in monetary value, it's in the heart. To be able to see someone smile who hadn't smiled in a long time, you know, someone to grab you and hug you and thank you. And the one thing with the homeless program that really gets to me is these people have lost total everything. They're at the very bottom of the pile, and to be able to get them back in society, to treat them with respect, and to see them come and blossom again in society and become an integral part of it again. To me, that's the greatest reward ever. Yeah.
How can we end homelessness?
I don't know if we're ever going to end it totally. But
so, except for the fringes, how could we end homelessness?
I think by being inventive in programs such as the ones that we've established with assistance, to provide that assistance before they've gone past that line and become homeless.
It's more expensive to bring someone back than to keep them from falling off the edge.
Very much so. And, you know,
so you think the federal government should be funding that?
I think they could get more involved. Right now it's strictly on what we could raise on our own. And if they would help with grants and things of that nature, that would help. We also, someone outside.
Yeah, I saw them. They bent down there doing something on the floor there.
Yeah, but that would help tremendously. And I think that would help us, plus offering jobs. And not all construction jobs. All these job programs I see coming out are all for heavy construction. You know, and a lot of folks can't do that.
I can't do that. I mean, I'm physically able, but I don't have the talent.
To go for there. You know, and we need to get that other part of our society, that, you know, office work, whatever it may be, baking bread, you know, and so forth and so on. But that we need in order to help prevent the homelessness. Is a lot of these folks don't have jobs or have been unemployed for a year or better. They've run out of unemployment insurance. And I know in our city right here, we have a 12.4% unemployment rate. It's the highest in the nation. And
higher even than Detroit?
Higher than Detroit. We're right up.
I think the reason it's higher than Detroit now is because so many people have left Detroit.
Detroit, yeah. And there's a problem with being in this city. Everybody comes here. It's like the homelessness. Our city has a lot more homeless people than a lot of others, but it's because of the climate. We have a mild climate, mild winters. And then there's another attraction. Everybody thinks the streets are paved with gold. And living here for 35 years, I know that's not true. I talked to the guys back on the East Coast. That's where my headquarters is for our unit. And they have hardly any homeless. And I said, well, that's because they're all coming out where the hell I am.
Okay, if you could be homeless in New York or Santa Monica, where are you going to go?
Where are you going to go? Let's put it together.
I'm getting on the Greyhound bus.
All you're going to see is a high old silver and a cloud of dust.
Right.
No, but that's true. And I told, you know, after I brought it up to them, then they realized. But they don't think. I said, who the hell wants to sleep in the cold? out here it's very mild. So.
I want to say thank you so much
Thank you.
for meeting with me, consenting to this interview.
Yeah.